it's really, really more important than ever that you're perceived as authentic, or your message isn't too extreme, so you're not turning off one bucket.
Hey there, and welcome to a brand new episode of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hassman, and joining me today, a brand new rock star. He's the co-founder of MatchNode. He's a Facebook ads expert and a speaker. Brian Davidson, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So we started right away, said you are a Facebook sort of social media expert, and you have been for years. So I want to dive right in. Like, how can people increase lead generation and online purchases using social media?
Yeah. Well, my straight answer is run conversion ads. I probably was positioned more of a social media expert 5-6 years ago. Now I definitely put myself in the bucket of ads expert. I think it's increasingly very, very hard to gain a real human audience by using organic or reach or likes or follows. I think it's really, really important to move the needle for your business by running very conversion focused campaigns, asking for the sale, asking for the lead, giving them a carrot of a coupon code or whatever you need, but being very, very direct in your advertising. These soft call to actions really get lost in the maze right now. A stat I love to point out to people is the average user scrolls more than the height of the Statue of Liberty on a daily basis. Wow. So your ads absolutely need to stand out with thumb-stopping content that gives the user a clear CTA. And then on the back end, your ads need to be optimized as much as possible. The iOS 14.5 update's been a real pain in everyone's butt, but making sure that you've got Conversions API, that you've got offline conversion feeds moving, that you're checking everything in GA, you've got GA4 set up, so you're ready for that. You might be using another analytics platform, but making sure everything's conversion focused and you're paying attention to that ROI is my simple answer.
That's great stuff right away. I appreciate that. So how have you seen companies sort of grow? They're not only grow with sales, but grow their brand using social media and other digital platforms? Because obviously there's a ton of them.
Yeah, well, I'll tie it right back to my first answer. We use a term a lot called performance branding. I don't want to run an ad for follows. I think those are nothing but bot ads. When I see someone bragging that they've got 100 million X followers on TikTok, I'm like, well, how many of those are human? You look at their comments, like these are all bot comments.
Yeah.
Obviously, the whole Twitter sale brought the bot problem to life. And it seems to be more acute on Twitter than other places, but it's very, very clear that a lot of these platforms are selling you likes and they're selling you clicks. They're not real people. And you can tell it by the engagement levels. You can tell it by looking at time on site. You can look at bounce rates. And it's really, really clear to me that you need to be optimizing all of your ads for conversion, even if it's a conversion that's up the funnel, right? You can build your brand by optimizing for people being on your site for 2 minutes. You can run an ad for an add to cart, or playing around with your product for X amount of period of time, or pushing Y button. It doesn't necessarily need to be optimized for a sale, but they do need to be optimized in some way for a conversion. And the best way, I'm talking about the branding piece of it, these platforms, especially Facebook, Meta, Instagram, they're so visual. And if you're following consistent brand guidelines, there's no reason that you can't be growing your brand while optimizing for conversion actions and people hopefully experiencing your product.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So I've also seen you talk about messaging, right? And getting the messaging right. So and it makes sense. Messaging is important. So how can the right messaging actually impact your bottom line?
Well, it's really, really clear. One of the coolest new features that Facebook has launched in the last, 6 months is they're really pushing for you to put in multiple headlines and multiple descriptions on all of your ads, and letting their AI further customize those specific messaging.
Hmm.
They're doing it even further with their new Advantage Shopper Plus ads that we've seen just a huge boost in conversion rates compared to our traditional catalog campaigns. I was pretty skeptical that anything changed. I thought it was just a rebrand. Using some of these new features around testing different copy and actually letting the algorithm serve different copy to different people, so important. But then following up whatever you learn on platform and sending that throughout your website. A really simple example is working with the United Center. Everything was branded Executive Suite on their website. We realized that Luxury Box actually just performed better, and Luxury Suite just performed better. And so we rebranded all of our ads in that way. And they subsequently rebranded pieces of their website to make that copy kind of continue that on that continuous journey to make sure it felt clean.
That's really interesting because, yeah, we do get, I'll be the first to say sometimes I don't know if it's lazy or just comfortable talking about things in a certain way, but the terminology sometimes changes. Yep. And that's a great example of that. That's super interesting. So you've also talked about, go ahead.
One more piece I'll throw into that is one, Facebook's auto suggestions make it easier than ever. But two, we've seen in the last, 2 weeks of the explosion of different AI bots on the web. Seeing this new chat bot blow up in the last week has been pretty amazing.
Right.
There's a lot of places where you can go for quick copy to test, and it's never been easier to test, and it's never been easier to create new copy.
Yeah, that new AI piece is almost like that's a whole conversation all its own. That looks really, really
Absolutely.
Interesting. So you've also talked about, and great stuff so far, Brian. I appreciate you taking the time today. Final question for you. So you've also talked about building a socially responsible brand. Why do you think that matters?
Well, it's a nuanced topic. And one thing you need to understand, I think, about a social responsible brand is one thing, it could be, just marketing. It could be marketing something like your impact on the environment. Patagonia is a brand that comes to mind.
Right.
It's really, really more important than ever that you're perceived as authentic, or your message isn't too extreme, so you're not turning off one bucket. So I think rather than focusing on necessarily being social responsibly brand, like that's a pretty big term. Yeah. I think it's much more important to be true to your core values. So MatchNode's core values are strategic growth, lifelong learning, accountability, and putting yourself in other people's shoes. That matters to our clients, and different brands have those core values. And I think when they're guiding towards the core values, the messaging comes off as authentic rather than manufactured. Yeah. And I think being nuanced in that discussion is more important than the other, more important than ever. For instance, I'm actually turned off by Patagonia marketing environment because they wear, it's all basically ski outfits. I'm a huge skier, but I spend a lot of time on airplanes spewing carbon in the air. And we're running, giant lifts that are supposedly running on clean energy, but that's to be determined. It's not necessarily the most eco-friendly sport to be out in nature. It can be, it can't be. But that's just an example of that nuance hitting different people very differently. And that's why I think it's so important to stick to your core values, because at the end of the day, that can guide those decisions internally and externally.
I actually really love that answer, Brian, because it is one of those things that I do feel like you see organizations hop from cause to cause because they think it's the new, hot button or whatever. And man, that does come off as whenever I hear socially responsible brand, I'm always like, oh, is this one of the, I love that you're talking about authenticity because I think that's super important.
We had a brand that was trying to sell us eco-friendly glasses, like literally eyeglasses. I had no idea that eco-friendly glasses was an issue in our world. I'm going to go on a limb and think that there's probably better ways to push society forward.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Well, Brian, this has been great. Where can folks find you and where find more information about MatchNode?
Yeah, just on our website, matchnode.com. And it's like match that lights on fire, NODE. So MATCHNODE.com.
That's awesome. Well, Brian, this has been fun. We'll have to do it again sometime, okay?
Absolutely. Thanks, Kirby.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time. Marketing Joy.